morning, college football fans, and welcome to 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Well, here we go, you guys. It is late December, and that can only mean one thing. Bowl season is beginning to dwindle down, and the college football playoff is among us. We are at the tail end of bowl season now, and boy, it has been a great bowl season. But I'll tell you right now, with as good as bowl season has been, the college football playoff is going to be that much better. It is in the horizon. We can see it. We are so close to it. And well, tomorrow, we've already entered the New Year's 6. We are as late December as we could possibly get. New Year's is 2 days away. We are closing the door on 2023 and getting ready to step on over to 2024. And right now, we are going to be entering that year with 2 pretty good games on the back half of 2023, as we get to see who the national championship is going to be coming up in just, 9 days away. So, I hope you guys are excited. We got ourselves a great show today, recapping this last past week of bowl season and getting you ready for that college football playoff. You are now tuned in live to 3 and Out College Edition right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Welcome, college football fans. Well, I can't believe it. As it always goes, man, it feels like it was just August. What was the day we started? August 19th. And we were just getting going, and here we are all these Saturdays later. And, well, it is now Saturday, December 30th. 2023, guys. And that's it. This is the last show of 2023. And I'll tell you, it is going to be a lot of fun, but at the same exact time, it's just crazy to think we're closing the door on another year, guys. It's insane. But we love it. It's enjoyable. And I'll tell you, it's just what we love to do. So, with that said, tell me talk about all that fun stuff. And to get on into this show here this morning, I almost said tonight, this morning, of course, welcoming my boy, man. He, of course, is IE Sports Radio Hall of Famer. He is the host of the SoCal Sports Show. He is, of course, the host of Set Point and the co-host of this show right here on 3 and Out. And the guy is a major help to IE Sports Radio. He's always been, because, well, he is basically the organizer of our YouTube page. So for those of you who are really, who love to go and check out old shows and all that, I'll tell you what, you couldn't do it without him, man. Glad to have him aboard. And, my right-hand man, glad to have him here. Ladies and gentlemen, my boy, Taryn Rodriguez. What's going on, brother? How you doing today, man?
Yo, how's it going, Larry B? Ready to talk some college football with you. And I'm doing pretty good.
No, hey, man, I'm glad. It's crazy, man. I know you're visiting your brother right now, man. You're in Texas time right now. But how you feel being not 7 a.m., but 9 a.m.?
It feels pretty good, actually. I mean, it's not like waking up at 5 or 6 a.m.-ish and then getting ready. So it feels good to have a little bit more sleep time.
I'm glad. I'm really happy about that, man, because it is definitely not the easiest getting up so early. I'll tell you what, Darren. This show, and you worked, you were working like crazy throughout that entire season. Man, it was tough. It really is kind of tough working the whole season, and then of course getting up again early for this show. Getting up early again to do this thing, man, every week. It is definitely It's not easy, but hey, we make the sacrifice. We do it. It's pretty awesome. Maybe next year we'll move an hour back. Maybe that would be the best idea.
We'll see. I think 7 a.m. works.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll see. But appreciate you, man. Thanks again. And once again, glad to have him here. And hey, I guess I can say here for the first time on a show that isn't the induction show. I can't believe it, you guys. This is my first show. Second show, I guess, after last night being the iSports Radio Hall of Famer. So I'm so excited. I mentioned, of course, right now, Taryn is an iSports Radio Hall of Famer. And he is. He is, indeed, an iSports Radio Hall of Famer. And I'll tell you what, brother, it's an honor to join you guys, man.
It's an honor to have you, Larry B. I knew you would get in one year.
Well, definitely appreciated, man, and thank you very much. By the way, Taryn is the class of 2020. He is actually the 10th inductee. Pretty cool. So, yeah, in that class of 2020, it was Lori, of course. Good old Lori. She's awesome. Diehard Broncos fan. We have your Taryn Rodriguez, the Charger, if you will. He was also in there with Jeff Christensen. Great guy, man. In Credit Chief. He is number 11. And then, of course, you were in there with Niners Jess, our very own Niners Jess, who was inductee number 12. So, yeah, man, you had a pretty cool class there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The process was very nerve-wracking, though.
Oh, man, I'll tell you right now. I didn't know what I put you guys through with that process until I went through it myself. It's, man, those votes, like, you seriously don't know if you're going to get in, like, every round. Like, it's a lot.
Yep, you got to get people to help you out.
Yeah, it's a toughie, but yeah, man, it's an honor. I'm so glad to be a part of the class of 2023, and just once again, man, big shout out to my classmates, if you will, or my peers in this Hall of Fame this year. Patty Champion, Mikey Two Guns, and Ralph Calise. So we have 24 now in the iSports Radio Hall of Fame. 6 classes, and well, we're just moving forward, man. First class ever was in 2018, and just so happy to have everybody who's been a part of this thing, a part of it. And once again, all of you out there, get those votes in next year. Okay, get those nominees in by next year. The voting always starts in December. So right after Thanksgiving, guys, it's always, that's it. We're getting ready to get the voting going, and next year, let us know, who do you want to nominate? And this next year, I want to see what the fans got to say. Usually I just ask the iSports Radio family, but this year, well, let's see. I want to ask the fans too. See who you guys would like to nominate. Who do you think has been a big part of iSports Radio, and who should be a part of this? And it's always a lot of fun. And, hey, once again, most votes wins every round. So definitely excited for that. And just thanks again, Taryn, for all you do, man, and for being an iSports Radio Hall of Famer as well.
No problem, Larry. Thank you for everything and what you do.
Hey, appreciate you, brother. Thanks a lot, man. Well, we got some college football to get into, man. And it's just crazy to think, man. Alabama, Michigan, Texas, Washington coming up so fast tomorrow afternoon. But Taryn, bowl season has not disappointed, man. We taken a look at this last past week. I don't even want to know what my bowl season predictions were, because I was going way. I usually like to go way out there and pick like the team who I don't think is going to win, and then it backfires on me. But whatever. I'm just excited to see these teams win, and do their thing. But Taryn, man, it was crazy. Last Saturday, we had a whole bunch of games, and we were getting started. And dude, there was some fun ones last week, man. I'll tell you, there were some really fun ones. We left off talking about Georgia Tech and UCF, and of course that was the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, where Georgia Tech would win 30-17. Well, Taryn, we went on, man. We went on to Saturday the 23rd last week, and dude. We made our predictions, and let's get into these games, man, because, oh my gosh, they were There were some good ones. So we'll start off with the first game of that week, and that was the Birmingham Bowl, the 76 Birmingham Bowl. Duke defeating Troy 17-10. And this is a funny joke, Taryn, because, well, there's a running joke on the show, a couple of them. One of them is about the U. We will definitely have that joke later on in the show. But we got to start out with this one, Taryn, because this one's even funnier, in my opinion, for right now. Because, well, when I started saying this year, Mount Union, being the Purple Raiders, and Northwestern College being the Red Raiders, whenever they're, kicking butt around college football, I always say, yeah, because some Raiders have to win. Because my Raiders aren't usually very good. Well, in the last 2 weeks, Taryn, my Raiders have actually been incredible. I mean, I don't know what happened. Christmas. I know Taryn's not very happy because one of those games was his Chargers. I understand. But the Chiefs on Christmas was amazing. And Taryn, the Raiders actually look pretty okay right now. Need a lot of help to get in the playoffs. But, dude, getting those 2 games is pretty nice. Well, it's kind of funny because both Mount Union lost, of course, in like the third round, I think, or second round of the Division III playoffs. And the Red Raiders of Northwestern College actually lost in the national championship this year to Kaiser. We talked all about that in the last couple of weeks. But it's kind of funny because, well, those Raiders, I always say some Raiders have to win. Well, those Raiders went under, and these Raiders are still going. It's the ones who I made the joke about in the first place, which is pretty funny. Well, Taryn, last week you had to come back at me with the joke, and I thought it was hilarious because we both picked Troy to beat Duke. And Taryn says, because some Trojans have to win, because USC had a horrendous season. Well, not to fast forward too much here, but USC actually looked pretty damn good, got the victory. And Taryn, the Trojans who we thought were going to win this week, I know you picked USC too, but the Trojans that we thought were going to at least play better, I don't know. You said because some Trojans have to win, because Troy, we picked Troy over Duke, and Duke ended up beating Troy 17-10. How about that?
Yeah, and it was practically an even match. The thing that I liked about Duke was that they overcame 2 turnovers, which I thought was pretty impressive if you ask me. My other thing is that they were slightly better in third down efficiency, but they just had a better overall game. They had a much balanced attack where Troy leaned more of the passing game as opposed to the run game. But Duke was able to hold on even though they didn't really, score a whole lot in the second half.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, right, Taryn? I mean, I think it's crazy because 14-0, man. 14-0 at the half. And it was like, wow, is Troy going to do anything? And in the waning moments of the third quarter, they get a field goal. Cool. And then, I mean, really, it was like nearly garbage time where they would get their last touchdown. No, don't get me wrong. If they would have scored again, I mean, they're right back in this game. It's not like they were really ever out of it because it was a low-scoring game. Regardless, though, man, pretty good game here, man. This guy Loftus, dude, you got to love him, right? I mean, we watched him all year, Grayson Loftus. They took on some major teams in the ACC. And, dude, 183 yards. He did throw a pick. But it is what it is, man. Honestly, they look pretty good. I thought that this team, I thought that Duke was poised to win a lot this year, finishing at 8-5. Good for them. Troy, man, what the crap? They were 11-2. They looked good. They had a pretty solid season. Just wasn't their day, though, man, as Duke will win this year's 76 Birmingham Bowl. Then we go on to the second game, Darren, and the Camilla Bowl was different. This was a crazy game, Darren. At one point, Northern Illinois led this thing with 9:42 to go, 21-7. It really looked like the Huskies were just going to pull away. I mean, at this point, I thought for sure they were just going to turn on the afterburners and run away. But Arkansas State, man, these guys fought, and they fought well. They didn't allow a single point after that. And, man, even though it was just 2 field goals to end the second quarter and 1 touchdown at the tail end of the fourth quarter, they came up just short. The 2-point conversion failed. They came up just short, man, and lost 21-19. Congratulations, of course, to NIU winning the Camilla Bowl this year. They'll finish at 7-6. Arkansas State finishes at 6-7. Terry, how about that game, man? That was actually a pretty good game.
It was a very intense game, and the fact that Arkansas State kind of came back toward the tail end of the game really just made it very fascinating. They almost recovered the onside kick, but sadly, it just did not go their way. What also didn't go their way was the penalties, as they accumulated more penalties than NIU, and they were out-yarded. They allowed over 420 yards from the opposing team, which will not win you games. So NIU really came to play, and I was just impressed by them overall.
Yeah, me too, man. It was really cool to see. I was really excited to see how well NIU played. But, yeah, the onside kick was very close. And definitely a great game for those guys. We get on to the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. And, Taryn, James Madison shouldn't have even been there, right? I mean, I'm sorry, they should have. That was the wrong game. James Madison, 11-2. He'll finish off the year. But the Air Force Academy at 9-4. You know, it's crazy because James Madison, Darren, we always talk about it now. James Madison, just a few years ago, this FCS school that we were talking about battling North Dakota State and, you know, battling these good teams in the FCS. They did win a national championship in 2016. You know, they were able to knock off North Dakota State. Taryn, had it not have been for James Madison winning that game, North Dakota, I think, would have won, 10, 11 years in a row or something like that? That's incredible. James Madison was the ranks in the gears for those guys. And you know what? Just incredible what they've done, you know, going from the FCS to the FBS. And they've played very, very, very well. Air Force, though, of course, got the better of them. At the half, it was 21-7. Look familiar? Camilla Bowl. But This Air Force team, man, you got to give these guys a lot of credit. They've always been a bunch of fighters. The Air Force, I haven't really seen anything bad from these guys in the last, decade? Over a decade? I mean, the Air Force always seems to assemble pretty good teams, man. And, you know, nothing too impressive out of the quarterback. He didn't really throw too much. But I'll tell you what, man, this dude right here, Emmanuel Michael, that was his last game, I think. Of course, as a senior. 35 carries, 203 yards, man, 2 touchdowns. What a performance from this guy. And, yeah, the Air Force will take the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl 31-21. How fitting that a military academy will win the Armed Forces Bowl. What a game, right there?
Indeed it was. And something I really liked about Air Force is that they really ran the ball well. They only passed the ball 5 times, and they had 350 yards on the ground, which is just amazing. And they dominated time of possession, which basically alludes to them running the ball a whole lot because they basically just chewed up the clock, whereas James Madison had to throw the ball more when they got down early. It was pretty much penalty-free from the most part, as there were hardly any penalties from both teams. Air Force didn't have 1, while James Madison only had 3 for only 10 yards. So all in all, it was just a very clean game from Air Force, and I really just was overall satisfied with how they played. I thought this was going to be a whole different game. I thought James Madison didn't really prove themselves after having a stellar season, and I think they just wilted in these last 2 games.
Yeah, dude, I'm totally with you, man. I mean, talk about a cool game. You see Air Force just balling out and on the ground, and definitely a well-deserved victory there from Air Force. By the way, I forgot to shout out Lombardi from NIU. Rocky Lombardi. This dude, another senior beast, man. 200 yards, 1 touchdown. He did throw 2 picks, but really NIU, man. I had to go back here. I did, but Ontario Brown, 25 carries, 132 yards. And you had Grayson Barnes, Jr. there. 5 receptions, 105 yards, 1 touchdown. Sorry, no, I usually shout out the top performers there, but great game for them. And then once again, man, just looking at Air Force, just what a performance, you know. I don't know if Emmanuel Michael is going to go on to play somewhere, but I'll tell you right now, man, this guy right here, he can definitely go somewhere. I think he played so well, carried this team. And they looked extremely good on Saturday. So, moving forward, Taryn, we went to the Smurf Turf, man, in the famous, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. This wasn't what I expected. It really wasn't. This was not what I expected, man. Georgia State just belts Utah State 45-22. Darren, I think we both expected a different game, at least a better game, man. Because the Aggies didn't really show up. They kind of got. I mean, the first quarter was good. They kind of got pushed around though. The rest of it, man. End of the first quarter, 21-14. At the half, though, the Panthers pulled away. It was 31-14, 38-14 at the end of the third. And Taryn, this game got as high as 45-14. Until a late fourth quarter touchdown here from the Aggies. This thing ends up, well, 2-point conversion was good, but it was, at that point in time, they needed a lot more work to do. 45-22, man, final score, and the Panthers just ran away with this game. They will finish the season 7-6 with this 45-22 victory, and the Aggies of Utah State will finish at 6-7. But man, this guy Granger, dude, Darren Granger, a senior out of Conway, South Carolina, nearly perfect on his throws. 19 for 22, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns. Brock, this dude Brock was pretty good, man. Freddie Brock, another senior here, 24 carries, 276 yards, 1 touchdown. And also, this dude here, man, another senior, Kadarius Thompson, 5 receptions, 117 yards, 2 touchdowns. Darren, no one was stopping the Panthers that day.
Yeah, and overall, Georgia State had 643 yards of offense. Whew. You're not going to be losing too many games if you accumulate that many offensive yards. And they were dominating offensive possession. The only negative that Georgia State had was penalties. They had over 100 yards worth of penalties, which obviously will frustrate any coach. But when you're just playing practically perfect in terms of offense and forcing turnovers and punts from the other team, then you're basically doing your job correctly. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's really cool when you can see the progress of your team being built. This team, man, you know what? They were okay. They were okay this year. They've been decent, not the best, not really the worst. But I don't know, man. It's really cool to see this team kind of come moving forward. Let's see what they do next year. The 68 Ventures Bowl, Taryn. Another game that was a dud. This was a total dud. This was seriously it was like, it's a 68 Ventures Bowl, Taryn. This isn't the college football playoff or the national championship, okay? We got plenty of duds last year on the national championships, and a lot of them, okay, from junior college all the way to, the higher ups. But, Taryn, this game was seriously buying that RC car for Christmas that doesn't work. This was when you put the batteries in, nothing happens, and you're like, come on, Taryn. University of Southern Alabama, man, or South Alabama, just laid the smack down. There's no other way to put this, dude. They 59-10. East Michigan, the alma mater of one of the only, well, I can't say that anymore. I used to make that joke. One of the only players on the Raiders, but they've all stepped up, thankfully. But Max Crosby's home here. Taryn, 59-10. The Eagles of East Michigan will finish at 6-7 on the season. South Alabama will finish at 7-6. Taryn, this was just a good old-fashioned beatdown, man. I mean, there was never a point in this game, unless it was the 0-0 when the game first started for the opening kickoff, that the Eagles ever had any type of anything. The Jaguars ran all over, and 17-0 at the end of the first quarter, 38-3 at the half, 59-3 at the end of the third quarter. Darren, yes, East Michigan held South Alabama to 0 points in the fourth quarter, but it didn't matter. It's probably because they put in all their freaking backups. All right. I watched this game pretty good, but, once again, I couldn't really keep up with the whole backups thing. But it was just the end of this thing was just very uneventful. One touchdown with 58 seconds to go by East Michigan. But, Darren, 59-10. You gotta love this, man. Gio Lopez, freshman out of Huntsville, Alabama, threw for 192, 3 touchdowns, 14 for 9. He also was the leading rusher on 7 carries, 88 yards, and 1 touchdown. And, dude, this guy right here, man, Jamal Prochet, hopefully I got his name correctly, 5'8" receiver, man, getting down, 8 receptions, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Darren, it's safe to say this was a total beatdown from start to finish.
Yeah, and the big thing that really impressed me from South Alabama and Georgia State was they were the true Sun Belt, Fun Belt teams. After seeing those first 3 games, I was just unimpressed with the Sun Belt Conference and how they were just finding ways to lose. But South Alabama, they really brought out the big guns, especially forcing 3 turnovers. They had over 600 yards of offense, 300 in terms of rushing and passing. This was just a good old-fashioned butt kicking. And I hate to say this, but this does remind me, I don't want to really compare this to this game, but this does kind of remind me of the Chargers-Raiders game from a couple Thursdays ago. And it wasn't because the coaching staff quit. It was just that South Alabama just had a lot more in the tank.
True, yeah. And stop thinking about that game, Turn. It's over. Even though I'm a Raider and I loved it, poor guy, you're reliving that crap, man. But definitely, I totally get you, bro. That was a very, very uneven game. But time to go to a game that was nearly a deadlock the entire way. Darren, I picked Utah. You picked Northwestern. It's safe to say, Taryn, that both of those teams were good picks. They were both good picks because this game came down to the wire, man. It was a good football game. The SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl that took place in Allegiant Stadium, home of the Raiders. Taryn, just wow. Scoreless first quarter, 7-0 finally when Ben Bryant would hit Cam Johnson. Okay, 12-yard pass into the end zone. Jake Olsen with the extra point. Taryn, it was 7-0 at the half. Northwestern. Another scoreless quarter in the third, and then Utah would open it up, man. Micah Bernard, 6-yard run into the end zone. Cole Becker with the extra point. And, well, it wouldn't be too long, okay, about 6 minutes later in football time, where Northwestern would strike again. This time, it was Ben Bryant to Bryce Kurtz for 19 yards. Jack Olsen, with his trusty leg, gets on the extra point, 14-7. And Taryn, that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote, man. Nothing more after that. The Northwestern Wildcats, after a crazy summer and spring and all that craziness that happened to them and everything, they just picked up and went from there. They finished the season at 8-5. Utah will also finish the season at 8-5. But, man, Ben Bryant, another senior here from LaGrange, Illinois. Taryn, you know what? Good way to finish the career, man. He went 23 for 34, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns. This dude Porter, man, he's a senior as well out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Cam Porter finished with 10 carries, 33 yards. Not the best, but whatever. He still did his thing. And, of course, Bryce Kurtz, senior here out of Brownsville, Indiana. 5 receptions, 68 yards, 1 touchdown. And it was enough, man. It was definitely enough. So, how about that, Aaron? Northwestern wins the Las Vegas Bowl.
It was a good win for Northwestern. It was kind of that stuck in the mud game. But for Utah, this is kind of where you really miss Cam Rising. He would have definitely made an impact for Utah's offense, not just in this game, but for the entire season. Because obviously he was lost from last year after the torn ACL in the Rose Bowl, but this year just was not the same Utah team as it was last year, and that's kind of the reason why I picked Northwestern. I do admit Utah did everything they could to stay within striking distance, but the offense just needs to produce. You could have one of the better defenses in the nation, but if you don't have the offense to back it up, then you're not going anywhere, unfortunately. And sadly, that was kind of the Utah thing.
100%, Taryn. You spoke it like a true analyst there, man, because it's true. Utah is, with no Cam Rising, it was already going to be hard enough. And this team did the best they could. And you know, man, finishing with that record without him and with having a rough season is still pretty damn good. Unfortunately, though, it's not enough to win that bowl game. Easy Point Hawaii Bowl. Taryn, this was just crazy. It was funny because I was showing my wife. I was like, look at this is the crazy game. Like this is what the West Coast games look like to the East Coast people when it's still light kind of outside. Because of course they're 3 hours back from us here in California. So Taryn, it was crazy to see this, man. Good old Chanticleers. Taryn, I remember like yesterday, Taryn. I remember it. It was actually, I think, the very first day. Fun fact, in 2016, that is when I finally had gotten IE Sports Radio on iTunes. Back then it was iTunes, but that was when I first got us on there. Good old buddy Ben Sutter III, the head honcho over at BS3 Sports Radio Network. Taryn, it was really cool, man. I finally got I got the RSS feed and put it on there, and I was so happy. And it was in the summer of 2016, 2 years after IE Sports Radio began. And Taryn, it was the College World Series. The Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina were playing against Arizona. And it's crazy, Taryn. The Chanticleers defeated Arizona in 3 games in the College World Series. And that was their first ever national championship at the D1 level. Really cool, right, Taryn? The D1 single A or D1. Taryn, here we are all these years later. The Chanticleers are playing D1 football. They're playing D1 everything now. And it's really cool to see how this team has just come along, man. Here they are wearing that awesome teal. And, here they are defeating a very impressive San Jose State, a team that, not that I have much positive things to say about USC this year, except for that bowl game. But, I mean, hey, they fought with USC, and they won some pretty good games this year, finishing at 7-6. But the Chanticleers, man, finished at 8-5, winning this bowl game, 24-14. It was a pretty lopsided game for the most part. It was 7-0 at the half, 14-0 at the end of the third, and at the very beginning of the fourth quarter, it was 17-0. Yes, the Spartans kind of clawed their way back they fought their way back all the way to the mid of the fourth quarter, making it 14-17, sorry. And then, Taryn, just to end it off, man, Ethan Vasco to Sam Pickney, 8 yards into the end zone. Cade Hensley with the extra point. Pretty much put this one out of reach. I mean, it wasn't totally out of reach, but, with 2:43 to go in the game. 24-14, the Chanticleers win this game. And, man, how about that? You have here Ethan Vasco, a freshman, by the way. He not only, led passing, of course, as the quarterback, 199 yards, 3 touchdowns. He went 2 for 33. He also led rushing, 17 carries. He called his own number 17 times for 50 yards. And Pickney, man, had a pretty good game. He is the senior out of Greenwood, South Carolina. 8 receptions, 123 yards, 1 touchdown. Taryn, the Chanticleers really balled out.
Yeah, and they also played pretty much a clean game. But both of these teams were penalty heavy, as they both combined for over 200 yards of penalties and had 18 penalties altogether. The thing about Coastal Carolina was that they had possession of the ball longer than San Jose State. they had the ball almost 15 minutes more than San Jose State, which is not ideal for the Spartans. And also San Jose State fumbled the ball twice, and they lost both fumbles. But I give credit to Coastal Carolina. I thought Coastal Carolina was kind of going to be the odd man out in terms of the Sun Belt, but they really showed up against the San Jose State team. Felt like they were from their 2020 form back when they played BYU.
No, totally, Darren. Totally. Pretty cool to see them, though, right? I mean, pretty cool to see them get to this point to get this win. And when you talk about this team, Darren, I mean, what stands out for you the most?
From Coastal Carolina?
Yeah.
Well, what stood out to them was kind of the defense and how it basically limited San Jose State and how it didn't allow them to have the ball all that much. And they limited them to only 4 third down completions. Even though San Jose State out-yarded them, Coastal Carolina just had control of the ball. And when you have the ball, you pretty much control the world.
That's right, Darren. You're speaking my language, man. Defense. These guys really played well. And you know what? Just hats off to this whole team, though, for playing. It was a total team effort to win this thing. Darren, we fast forward through NFL Sunday, through NFL Christmas, and then we get to Tuesday. I mean, of course, it's Christmas first, reason for the season, Jesus Christ. And then, of course, we get on to the NFL. But then, Taryn, Tuesday the 26th, we continue with bowl season. We had 3 games that day, and you know what? I mean, they weren't horrible, but they definitely could have been a little closer. I feel the 3 teams that won were definitely the superior teams, Darren. So we have first the ServPro First Responders Bowl. This is where Texas State defeated Rice 45-21. And Taryn, what the crap, man? We were out and about, Celia and I doing the whole after Christmas shopping, gift cards and all that stuff, cruising around and doing all that. Taryn, we had this game on and it just wasn't very eventful. It was eventful, but really for one side. I don't know what happened, man. Rice forgot to show up. I mean, they were there kind of, but end of the first quarter, 14-7, Texas State. I mean, they would come out 7-0 actually to start the game. But dude, this is crazy. At the end of the second quarter, it was 24-21, 3-point game. You're like, okay, we're gonna get ourselves a good one here. I mean, it was kind of lopsided. Then Rice kind of fought back, and then Taryn, it just kind of went all wonky from there, man. 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, 1 touchdown in the fourth quarter. Texas State just went off. They did their thing, 45-21. They end up winning this game, man. And just what a performance here from the Bobcats. They fought, they did their thing, and yeah. So sophomore TJ Finley, man, did pretty well. He threw for 152 yards, no touchdowns, but no picks either. So, hey, that works, on 15 for 29. I don't want to butcher his name, but Ismail Mahdi, I believe, sophomore there, out of Murphy, Texas. 122 yards on the ground for 24 carries. And then Hawkins, man. Ashton Hawkins, Jr. out of DeSoto, Texas. I think we know a thing or two about DeSoto, right, Taryn? 3 receptions, 55 yards. They got it done, man. They got it done. 45-21 final score, finishing the season at 8-5. Rice will finish the season at 6-7, and they are this year's ServPro First Responder Bowl champs.
The impressive thing about Texas State was how many turnovers they forced. They forced 6 turnovers. They even picked the ball off 5 times and forced 1 fumble, while Texas State didn't even turn the ball over once. They did have over 100 yards worth of penalties, but Texas State was just more cleaner and efficient. And that's how you pretty much win the game. And I was just overall impressed by Texas State's offense. That was almost balanced for the most part. Nearly the exact same yardage in terms of passing and rushing. And like I said, the defense really showed up. So you have to give credit to Texas State and how they pretty much ate up Rice.
I see what you did there.
Well, their motto is "Eat 'em up, cats."
They ate up rice. I'm sorry, that was too easy. I'm sorry, that was too good stuff there, Darren. Well, yes, eat him up, and they definitely did eat him up, Darren. So good job for them this year. Very solid. And well, on to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Darren, we both kind of thought UNLV would give a good fight. We did. And honestly, it's not like they didn't, but it just looked... Is it just me, or does it look like Kansas, if you didn't know the score and you just watched the game, and you kind of lost the score if you were keeping score, it kind of seems to me like Kansas won by more, or UNLV didn't score as much. I don't know. It's weird. It was a weird game. UNLV did fight. They did. It literally ended in a fight. Did you see the end of the game? It almost ended. That defensive end, I don't know who he was, man, but they were taking a knee. Homeboy sprints around the corner, gets in the quarterback's face. Once again, Taryn, you don't know what's said out there, but the guys that are out there are the referees, so you don't know what's said. Sometimes things can happen. You can say things get chippy. The freaking sidelines cleared and everything. The coaches and everybody got in the way. It was a weird ending to that game, but it ended really quickly. No brawl, but it was a trip. But anyway, Taryn, end of the first quarter, 7-7. 7-all, if you will. Halftime, 28-10. Yeah, that's how quick that thing kind of escalated. 3 touchdowns there to 3 touchdowns from the Jayhawks to the Rebels, 1 field goal. Okay, it was all Rebels in the third quarter, 2 touchdowns to make it 28-24. But just like the second quarter, the Jayhawks explode again. Yes, there were 2 touchdowns here from UNLV, but the Jayhawks, with already a nice little, with a 4-point lead, 3 touchdowns to match UNLV's 2 touchdowns. You kind of see what happened. 49-36, Darren. Final score here. And Kansas wins the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, 49-36. UNLV will finish the season at 9-5. The Jayhawks finish the season at 9-4. And Darren, this was pretty crazy, man. Bean, you gotta love the sign in the audience, by the way. Jason Bean, the young man out of Mansfield, Texas, he played a pretty good game. He threw for 6 touchdowns. He didn't throw 3 picks, but he threw for 3 touchdowns, or 6 touchdowns, 449 yards, sorry. And he only threw 28 total passes, man. He went 19 for 28. That's pretty cool, Neal, by the way, Devin Neal, Jr. out of Lawrence, Kansas, 20 carries for 71 yards, 1 touchdown. And then leading receiver, Luke Grimm, Jr. out of Raymore, Missouri, 4 receptions, 160 yards, 3 touchdowns. Overall, man, the Jayhawks look pretty good winning this year's Guaranteed Rate Bowl.
Yeah, and you talked about how there was pretty much a little bit of a scuffle toward the end. That's why the penalty yardage was so high for both teams. I can't believe Kansas accumulated over 200 yards worth of penalties. Whoa. That's probably a new bowl game record. But for Kansas, they were just overall efficient. They almost had 600 yards of offense. And UNLV made it really interesting going into the fourth quarter. But it's just that Kansas had an answer for UNLV. And that's not that UNLV was bad. It was just that UNLV just fell behind early, and they just couldn't overcome the deficit against a team that had a little bit more experience playing tougher teams, such as the likes of like a Texas or an Oklahoma or maybe a Baylor or something of that sort.
Yeah, man, it was a good one. It really was. But overall, the superior team, you could definitely see it. But yeah, that little scuffle was crazy. The penalty yards was crazy. It was chippy the whole game from what I seen, for the most part. So really good game there, Taryn. And congratulations to the Jayhawks. Rock Chalk Quick Lane Bowl. Taryn, wow. Another game. Now, this was a game that was closer. This was the closest game, in my opinion, of the day. I guess Bowling Green had so many opportunities, Taryn. They did. Bowling Green had every opportunity they could possibly have. It's just Minnesota, and this was a team, Taryn, right? They shouldn't have even been there. They were just there because I think there was enough teams, something like that. I forgot what it was, but they only won 5 games this year. They weren't even bowl eligible, but they got in somehow. And Bowling Green, of course, they had won their 6 games and they got in. But Taryn, wow, dude. I mean, this was something, man. This is a good game. 7-6 at the end of the first. Of course, the extra point. The extra point would fail. Or no, they went for 2. Minnesota did, the Gophers, and came up short. So it was 7-6 Bowling Green at the end of the first. At the end of the half, it was 10-9 Bowling Green. At the end of the third quarter, well, Minnesota went up and did its thing. Man, the Gophers 23-10, 2 touchdowns. Bowling Green had no answer. And even though in the fourth quarter Bowling Green scored 2 touchdowns of their own, well, Taryn, there was 1 touchdown right in the middle of the fourth quarter from Minnesota. And overall, it was a pretty good game, 30-24. The Minnesota Gophers are your Quick Lane Bowl champions this year. And, when you look at the performance, look no further than Darius Taylor, man. This freshman, kind of crazy. The Quick Lane Bowl is played in Michigan, right? At Ford Field with where the Lions play. And this young man, this freshman, Darius Taylor, actually is from Michigan. 5'11", 195-pound running back here, man. So really good homecoming for him. And got a very good performance in front of his home crowd. 35 carries for 208 yards, 1 touchdown. Nobody else was too impressive, really. Cole Kramer, senior, he would finish off at 8-16, 26 yards total, 2 touchdowns. He did throw 1 pick. And then, of course, Darius Taylor also was the lead in receptions. But they didn't really throw the ball. They didn't really throw the ball that much. 2 receptions for 11 yards. And that was their leading receiver. So it says a lot. But yeah, Taryn, Quick Lane Bowl champs this year, the Minnesota Gophers.
Yeah, and I feel Minnesota playing the likes of those Big Ten opponents really prepared them. And yeah, it obviously is what it is when it comes to them playing and having a sub-500 record. But you mentioned Darius Taylor. He actually came back from a leg injury, and he just ran for over 200 yards, which was very impressive. And Minnesota was just overall efficient for the most part. They were out-yarded, but they did dominate time of possession, which showed why they were strong in the run game.
Absolutely, man. And definitely, once again, great performance from him. But overall, good job there from Minnesota. We move on to Wednesday, the 27th, and Taryn, West Virginia and North Carolina in the Duke's Mayo Bowl was a pretty fun game. West Virginia just played, and they played well. 30-10 victory over North Carolina. I really thought North Carolina would give more of a fight in this game. I know, Mayo didn't play in this game. I understand that, guys sit out and everything. I get that, getting ready for the draft. 30-10 though, man. West Virginia 9-4. They finish off the season once again. UNC finishes at 8-5, and it was a good game. At the half, it was 17-10, West Virginia, but then it was all West Virginia in the second half. The Mountaineers just went off and final score 30-10 here. Really good job from Garrett Green, the junior out of Tallahassee, Florida. 12 for 24, so 50%. But hey, 228 yards, 1 touchdown. He also called his own number 3 times, led rushing with 64 yards on 9 carries. And receiver Traylon Ray, freshman, also out of Tallahassee, Florida, 3 receptions on 91 yards, 1 touchdown. Overall, man, not a bad day at the office, and the Mountaineers, man, got it done.
Yeah, and for UNC, this is kind of where you really miss Drake May. But for West Virginia, they really took advantage of the situation, and they really got the job done. And I was pretty much impressed for the most part, as their defense shut out North Carolina in the second half, which I thought was good. I really thought West Virginia played a clean game. They forced 3 turnovers, and they had almost 400 yards of overall offense. So I think that West Virginia just played a much more cleaner and efficient game.
They in fact did. And you know what, man? You just gotta tip your cap, right? What a great game played by these guys. And what a solid performance. Over on the TaxAct Texas Bowl, this was a good one. Oklahoma State, number 20 Oklahoma State defeats Texas A&M 31-23, finishing the season at 10-4. The Aggies will finish at 7-6. Darren, this game was good for just one reason. It was a tale of 2 halves. It really was. Oklahoma State really went off in that first half, 24-6 at the half. But then the Aggies made it very respectable, man. I mean, they were within a touchdown of making this game, of getting right back in this thing. I mean, it's not like they weren't in it, but of tying it up. But they will finish this game very strong in that third. Well, they'll finish with a good third quarter. They could have finished stronger, okay, with just one field goal in the fourth quarter. Regardless, that defense, you got to respect the Pokes defense, man. 31-23. Very good game here. And, yeah, Alan Bowman, senior out of Grapevine, Texas. 2 touchdowns, but he maxed it with 2 picks, Taryn. Ouch. Regardless, 34 for 49. He threw for 402 yards, though. Not a bad day when it comes to yardage. We also have here Ollie Gordon, sophomore here, 27 carries, 118 yards, 1 touchdown. And Owens, very impressive. Rashad Owens here, 10 receptions, 164 yards, 2 touchdowns. Darren, Oklahoma State really won. They really earned this game.
They did. They jumped out to an early lead, and I was kind of fearing that Texas A&M might come back, but Oklahoma State just really kept their foot on the gas, and they made sure Texas A&M had a big enough hole to the point where they couldn't climb out of. The offense, mainly its passing, was probably pretty much was the focal point to the win. Although there were 2 interceptions, I thought that Oklahoma State was very efficient in terms of the passing game.
Without a doubt, man. Super efficient. And, well, that's why you get the victory, man. So, good job for them, and a really good game there. Moving on to the Military Bowl, presented by GoBowling.com. Virginia Tech, Taryn. Hey, you picked another winner there, man. 41-20. Virginia Tech wins this thing. They move on to, they finished at 7-6 this year. Tulane, I expected more out of, man. They were 11-3. They finished off the season at 11-3. I know the rain played a factor in this game, but dude, I expected more. It was 17-10 at the half. Virginia Tech, I really thought they would get it done. As listening last night to Mike Pat on Let's Whine About DMV Sports, this is actually the first DMV team to break through and get a bowl victory out of all the teams who made it before this, of course, that played before this game in bowl season. And Taryn, it's crazy. It's crazy to think Virginia Tech, man, this little team that they got it done. Tulane did fight back in the second half rather significantly. It was 27-17 at the end of the third quarter, but as you can see, Tulane still scoring. And in that fourth quarter, though, the Hokies just turned on the afterburners, man, holding Tulane to just a field goal, scoring 2 more touchdowns. Once again, 41-20. And pretty good day here by Kai Horton. Sophomore here. He went 13 for 20, 119 yards. Hughes also, Mekhi Hughes out of Birmingham, Alabama, 15 carries for 88 yards. And Brown, not over the century mark. Keith Brown. But he got 5 receptions, 63 yards to help his team. And, that was Tulane. I don't know why I'm going to talk about Tulane. Sorry about that. But these guys right here, man, I thought they played a pretty good game. I wanted to bring them up. They played a pretty okay game. When you talk about Virginia Tech, Kyron Drones, this dude, he didn't even pass century mark, man. 91 yards, but he threw for 2 touchdowns, and that's what counted. He also called his own number on the ground, and he ran for a touchdown, man. Had 176 yards on the ground, 20 carries, and just amazing performance. There was a leading receiver, but Benji Gosnell didn't really throw for a lot, but 2 receptions, 21 yards, 1 touchdown. Taryn, you look at all these performers here in this game. I mean, there was some good performances all around.
Yeah, and Virginia Tech, despite having 2 fumbles, they really did a great job of running the ball. And when you get the run game going, you're tough to stop. For Tulane, I really thought they were going to at least bring it a little bit more, but unfortunately, having only 2 third down completions is not going to win you too many games.
No, that is not. And the team who didn't win too many games this year, but won the game that counted, Taryn, our USC Trojans, man. How about the applause button? The DirecTV Holiday Bowl. This was crazy. It was crazy. Petco Park, beautiful, beautiful stadium where the Padres played. Taryn, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I respect Williams. I like, what he's a Heisman winner. I like what he, can deliver on the field. But I don't know if the chemistry was bad. I don't know what happened, man. But this dude, Miller Moss, man. You talked about him before. The sophomore comes up, first ever start. He threw a pick. But Taryn, he also threw 6 touchdowns. Went 23 for 33. 372 yards. Jones had 11 carries for 60 yards, of course, Austin Jones. And Taj Washington, man, senior, was his last game there. 7 receptions, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. Taryn, USC, they look like a different team. They really did. They led 28 to 14 at the half and ended up winning this game 42 to 28. Taryn, I just really feel that, I don't know, USC, Lincoln Riley looked pretty solid. I don't know, man. I just, it's hard. It's really hard because I want to say like the season sucked. It was just horrible. But to end on a note like that, I don't care who sat out. I don't care who did what. At least the team victory, man, that was actually a pretty good way to end off the season.
Yeah, and Caleb Williams did sit out just because of the whole NFL draft declaring. So, yeah, this was Miller Moss's game, and this kind of makes me wonder if he's the actual future for USC, because those first 2 seasons he sat out, and then right when Caleb Williams declared for the draft and it's bowl game time, Miller Moss gets the call up. He does really well in his first start. And although USC lacked a run game for the most part, they really made up with Miller Moss just really paying dividends and in spades. And USC's defense overall was pretty solid as well, although giving up 28 points in a lot of rushing yards didn't really help. But still, it was still strong, as Louisville didn't really have too much of a passing game for their team. I mean, their starting quarterback, Jake Plummer, unfortunately got knocked out early. He did come back, but still, they just didn't have that passing rhythm like Miller Moss did. So I was just impressed by USC for the most part. And I think they can build off this because a lot of their young guys played in that game, and now their young guys are thinking, hey, we could be something special next year. We just all got to pull the rope.
And that's what it takes, man. So really excited. Way to go, Trojans. Good victory there. They got it done. And, well, Taryn, we're on to Thursday now, the 28th. The Fenway Bowl. Our very own Mikey Two Guns was actually there. Him and Swizzle. Pretty cool. Taryn, this was a crazy game, man. It really was. The Boston College Eagles taking on the number 24 SMU Mustangs. And, Taryn, 23 to 14 later. It was just a good game. It was just a very good. It looked like it was pretty cold, but really good game. Not a lot of. It's crazy. Not a ton of scoring, but it's a really fun game. At the half, it was 14 to 10. By the way, SMU, they scored really close to the end of the half. A scoreless third quarter, and then gets an explosion in the fourth quarter. Man, Boston College, the Eagles came out and scored 2 touchdowns, and that's it. Man, their defense did the rest. It's really, really, really good job there, man. This dude, Thomas Castellanos, he is a sophomore. He threw for 102 yards. He did throw a pick, but 11 for 18. They didn't throw very much. But you know what he did do a lot of? On the ground, man. 21 carries, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. Amazing for him. And leading receiver here, we had Jaden Skeet, freshman here out of Hyde Park, Massachusetts. 2 receptions, 48 yards. Overall, man, just what a game. Good job, man. The Boston College Eagles were playing in front of their home people, man. They're playing at Fenway Park in Massachusetts, in Boston. I mean, Taryn, what do you do, man? They had to fight hard. Good season for SMU, finishing at 11-3. But, dude, the 7-6 Boston College, the day was theirs.
Yeah, and I tried to tell you that maybe that home field advantage might help them out. No, I'm kidding. But for SMU, I will just say I felt like they kind of weren't there in that second half. I thought Boston College really erupted in that second half, courtesy of Thomas Castellanos. He was really the workhorse all together, not just, well, mainly in the run game. The passing game, not so much. But for Boston College, they and some of the other ACC teams have shown that the ACC is pretty good in terms of college football. So I was just generally impressed in terms of Boston College just showing up and just putting on for its fans.
Absolutely, man. And just a great job for them. I'm with you, though. I feel like SMU just wasn't there in the second half. It was crazy. But on to from the Red Sox to the Yankees, man. On to the Pinstripe Bowl, the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. Rutgers, dude, defeats Miami 31-24. Rutgers, the Scarlet Knights, man. These guys played, and they played well. Rutgers led. It's kind of crazy. They jumped out to a 7-0 lead at the end of the first. Or in mid-first, they did that. But end of the first, 7-0. Kind of crazy. The half, 14-10. Pretty good game. Pretty good game, right? Rutgers doing their thing. End of the third quarter. Still a pretty good game, Darren. Still pretty good. It really is. 21-17. Rutgers still leads, but it's still anyone's game. And then, Taryn, a touchdown to field goal later. Getting close to the end of the game here. 31-17, Rutgers just goes off. They do their thing. Yes, there was one touchdown very late in this game by Miami, making it 31-24. That was the final score. Taryn, this guy, Gavin Wimstett, Jr. here out of Owensboro, Kentucky, 7 for 15. Wow. 84 yards. Monagai, I believe. I'm not sure his name. Kyle Monagai. He is the junior there out of Roseland, New Jersey. Hometown guy, or home state guy. 25 carries, 163 yards, 1 touchdown. And Christian Dramel, senior there, playing his last game. He only had 1 reception for 23 yards. As you can see, they did run the ball very much. But, Taryn, the Scarlet Knights played this game very well. They played all 4 quarters. But there's a team here in this game who didn't play all 4 quarters. And, well, even though they can't get short by 7 points, you got to play 4 quarters. And I feel like the Scarlet Knights did that. They'll finish the season. Both these teams finished at 7-6. And, Taryn, you texted me right when the game was over. And you told me something that I would like you to repeat. It's the last time we're going to say this for the season, Taryn. We've been saying it since the opening week or something like that around there. It's been a running joke for, I believe, a season or 2 now. But, Taryn, one more time. Let's sound the lightning and get the build-up going. Taryn, is the U back?
No, and they were never back to begin with, unfortunately. Ever since Georgia Tech, they were never back.
Is it mean to be so mean to this team right now?
I mean, they had their championship time in the sun back, what was it, 2007 or whatnot?
Oh, I was 2001, dude. One of the greatest college team ever, yeah.
Now, if you're a Rutgers fan, here's a little trivia for you, Larry. When was the last time Rutgers won a national championship?
Boy, that must have been, my goodness. Rutgers, I know, played the very first ever football game that was very similar to soccer. It was like soccer-rugby combination. They would play the very, very, very first football game ever played, Taryn, which is kind of crazy because, well, the rules are way different. And they would play, I believe it was Princeton or somebody, I think. But they would play the very first ever football game ever back in like 1876 or something like that. It was crazy how long ago that really was. But yes, Rutgers would play in the very first football game ever, we consider today modern day football. National championship wise, Taryn, it had to have been somewhere right around there. It was Princeton. I had to look it up real quick. It was Princeton. And that was not far. In November 6th, 1869, Darren, is when the very first football game was ever played. Like I said, very close, a soccer rugby hybrid, if you will. Rutgers did, I believe, win that game versus Princeton. But Taryn, that's pretty much it. So I don't know. If they did win a national championship, which I'm assuming they must have if they played the first ever freaking game. I know different versions were played until it got put together by, I believe it was Thorpe in the 1920s or early 1900s, where they started to put together and make it look like what football looks like today. But Taryn, I cannot tell you if or when they won a national championship. When was that?
So it was claimed in 1869. So it was that same year. So Rutgers fans have been waiting maybe for a long time. I think it's their first bowl game win in nine. Actually, no. What I think it was like first bowl game win in like 6 years or something like that.
That's crazy, Jared. 1869. So you're telling me since the year football basically started, Rutgers was the first ever national champion. And, well, 1869. Taryn, 1869. That's right after the freaking Civil War. We're in the Reconstruction of the U.S. Okay?
Yep.
The U.S. was completely backwards at that time. And, well, that's the last time Rutgers was a good football team. And it was nothing like what football is today. How about that?
Yeah, I think they were like, this was their second bowl game win in 15 tries.
Oh my gosh, well, good for the Scarlet Knights. Man, just good for them, good victory, and hopefully they can see better days coming for them.
Same with Miami. Actually, it was Miami's 13th bowl game loss in 15 tries.
Oh, yeah, Miami is definitely, the U. And the reason why we go with that running joke is because everyone just loves to say whenever the U gets kind of good that the U's back. So Taryn and I are like, no, they're not. They're not back. Unless you're playing like one of the Final Four teams we're talking about in a few minutes here. They're not back. All right, so Taryn, we move forward to the Pop-Tarts Bowl and the first ever edible mascot. The TV cut away from that ending before anything even happened. People are putting it on Twitter. Apparently it was a gigantic Pop-Tart that was edible. The team and everybody was eating it. It was kind of weird, but I thought it was kind of cool, but I don't know. Anyway, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Kansas State wins this thing 28-19. 9-4 on the season. They will finish just like number 18, NC State. They will also finish 9-4. But Taryn gets to go into hyperspeed here. 21-10 at the half. And KSU led. They looked good. Yes, it was all North Carolina State in the third. But hey, good strong finish here. Kansas State will score at the end of the fourth quarter. Taryn, just a great day, man. Avery Johnson, freshman here, went 14 for 31, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns. Giddens, 28 carries for DJ Giddens, man, sophomore here. 151 yards, 1 touchdown. Great job for him. And then 5 receptions, 52 carries, and 1 touchdown for freshman Jace Brown. Overall, Taryn, the Wildcats look good, and they earned this game.
Yeah, I don't know what was more weird, us seeing an actual edible mascot that was the Pop-Tarts or basically this game altogether. I mean, the game was amazing, but I felt Kansas State had this game from the get-go. I just felt that Kansas State was the superior team. Not saying anything bad about NC State, but I just feel Kansas State was just overall had the edge on them. So something else I got to take away is, you know how the Stanley Cup has its it could be eaten out of in terms of like maybe cereal and soup.
Yeah,
you could basically store your Pop-Tarts in the Pop-Tarts trophy. Trophy bowl.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, hey, if you can store them in there, why not? I mean, edible Pop-Tart, the Pop-Tarts bowl trophy, you can store them. Hey, man, it's all about the Pop-Tarts, right? Kind of funny. I ate some Pop-Tarts right before the game started, and I was like, this is kind of cool. I had some Pop-Tarts after that. I mean, hey, good Pop-Tarts are delicious. So, Taryn, The Valero Alamo Bowl, number 14 Arizona taking on number 12 Oklahoma. Wow. Taryn, wow. Let me just go ahead and say, man, 5'11", 194-pound quarterbacks. And it's kind of funny because, well, it's a guy that I think you know pretty darn good. But Taryn, it doesn't matter. It's that old saying: the size of fighting the dog, not the size of the dog in the fight. Wow, Noah Fifita out of Huntington Beach, California, 24 for 38, 354 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw 1 pick, but you can see past that 1 pick now, I'm sure. Wow. You have DJ Williams, senior, out of Lake Placid, Florida. 6 carries for 27 yards, 1 touchdown. And, of course, McMillan. Okay. I do not want to butcher this guy's name, but...
Tataroa McMillan.
Which is amazing. Out of Hawaii. Okay. Looks like Waymando. I don't want to butcher that name either, but... 10 receptions, 160 yards, man. Wow. I mean, it's crazy to think that at one point in time, this game it looked like it was not out of reach, but it just, OU just played better. They were dominating. I mean, I don't want to say dominating, but they looked clearly like the better team. It was 10-0 Arizona at the end of the first quarter. Okay, cool. But we still got a lot more game to play. Then OU woke up, and it became 14-13 at the half. And then, Taryn, after this, I don't know. I don't want to say they were dead in the water, Arizona, but it just was weird. I was watching this part of the game a lot where, and up until the very tail end of the third quarter, OU kind of took off. It was 24-13. I really thought OU was just going to take off from there. But no, a 87-yard scoop and score by Gunnar Maldonado, man. It was pretty cool. It was kind of crazy. There was a pass, and there was the 2-point conversion, Pavita to Luminous Craig. It was 24-21. OU's lead just diminished just like that. And it was all Arizona in that fourth quarter. Defense steps up. I mean, everything goes right for Arizona. Taryn, they came back from being down 21-13 to winning 38-24. How about number 14 Arizona finishing at 10-3, and the Oklahoma Sooners will finish at 12-3. Taryn, that was a crazy game.
It was, and I will say this: I was wrong about Arizona. I picked Oklahoma to win this, but Arizona just really proved themselves. Noah Fifita was just outstanding. Tataroa McMillan, he was basically the bread to Fifita's butter, or the butter to Fifita's bread. But Oklahoma, I'm just going to say, their ball security was just so terrible. It's bad enough they have 3 interceptions, but 3 fumbles as well. You're basically giving Arizona 6 possessions after they gave you an interception. So Oklahoma has to really do better in terms of its ball security. They had a great game offensively, over 550 yards of offense, but none of that's going to matter if you keep turning the ball over multiple times. And Arizona was just very clean for the most part, and you got to love the efficiency. And Arizona, I think, can do big things in the Big 12. Yeah, Big 12, because they're going Big 12, and then everyone else is either going to ACC or Big 10 and whatnot. So for Oklahoma, I hope you're ready for the SEC, because if you're not ready for this Arizona team, I can't imagine what's going to happen when you in Texas have to face one another, and you have to face Georgia, and then you have to face Alabama, and then maybe LSU, and then the list goes on and on and on. By the way, Larry, you probably heard on the broadcast that Noah Fifita and Tataroa McMillan were both teammates in high school. Where did they go to high school?
I heard on the broadcast several times they were both Servite Friars. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very correct. We heard it multiple times on the broadcast.
And you know what, Taryn? I think that's awesome, man. Both from Servite, right there in your backyard, man, in Orange County, and I think that's awesome, dude. You know what? You get some monsters that come out of the that Trinity League is a beast, man. I'll tell you right now, they produce some players, and you know, I just wish these guys all the best moving forward. Going somewhere, man. You know, I mean, we'll see what happens with the next step of their careers, but so far, man, I mean, just wow, just what a job for these guys in college, and just what a game to end off the season for sure for these guys.
Indeed, it was.
Taryn, we get on to the final day here, and well, at least the final day up till now, yesterday's games, and wow, I just got to tell you one thing, man. I'm sorry, Clemson. I didn't really believe in them too much. I think I don't know if I picked them to win. Maybe I didn't, but
you did.
During this game, dude, I wrote them off, man. I just wow. I even made a comment in the IE Sports Radio chat on our band app, dude. I was like, yeah, they're done. Like I said, Clemson has gone downhill so fast, and well, they came back, but dude, at the half. 14-10, Kentucky. Okay, cool. End of the third quarter, 12-10, Kentucky. Okay, now I think they're going to start pulling away. I really did. I had a feeling that Kentucky was just going to go and make it happen, turn on the afterburners, as I like to say, and go. I was wrong. I was wrong, Darren. Clemson came back in a fury, man. 2 touchdowns and a field goal later. They are leading this, or they're within 1. Okay, a 2-point conversion. They are they lead by 6 points, 27-21. Kentucky fought back though. Okay, 60-yard pass from Devin Leary to Barion Brown. 60 yards, dude. 28-27. Kentucky goes up by 1. But after that, it goes back and forth, man. I mean, kind of. Then we have Jonathan Weitz with the 52-yard field goal. It is now 30-28 Clemson. Then Ray Davis with the 1-yard carry to the end zone. It is now 35-30 Kentucky with 2:39 to go. But Darren, right before this game ends, man, we get Phil Maffa 3-yard touchdown into the end zone. It was pretty cool. We have Cade Klubnik to Josh Sapp for a 2-point conversion. 38-35 final score, Taryn, and that was with 17 seconds to go in this game. What the crap, man? That was pretty awesome. Klubnik out of Austin, Texas. Cade Klubnik, 30 for 41, 264 yards. He threw 1 pick, but it's what it is, right? Phil Maffa, 11 carries, 71 yards, 4 touchdowns on the day. And Jake Brigenstool, 9 receptions, 91 yards. Terrence, what a performance overall, man. The Tigers will win the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl.
Yeah, and it was a great comeback for Clemson. I just felt that Kentucky could have definitely played a much cleaner game, as they turned the ball over 4 times, which is not ideal for them. You have to have better ball security, kind of like I mentioned in the Oklahoma-Arizona game. But you have to give credit to Clemson. They took advantage of the situation. They had panic going into the fourth quarter. They erupted for 28 points, which both teams erupted for a combined 42 points, which is more than they combined in the first 3 quarters. So for Clemson and for Dabo Swinney, you have to give credit where credit's due. They played an ugly first 3 quarters, but then they came alive when it truly mattered.
They did, and big ups to Dabo Swinney. He was just so thankful, as always, to God and just for his team, and they played an amazing game, man. Just what a job, what a game, and wow, they did their thing, man. The Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Well, let me tell you one thing, Taryn. This game can be summed up in only one way, and boy, Tony the Tiger can say his favorite slogan about one team in this game, because number 16 Notre Dame, they're great. They absolutely just, I really had high hopes of this game being a good game, Taryn. Oregon State, I'm just so bummed out for them. I seen a YouTube video not too long ago about them being left out now, of course, of all the, all the other teams moving out of the Pac-12, and this team in fear of becoming like a second-rate type of Division I team now, and join the Mountain West, and the recruiting not going to be that good, and all that crap. And it sucks, man. They were baseball national champions a couple years ago. They have lots of ranked teams every year. Dude, they just took a big crap in the middle of the Sun Bowl field, man. I mean, it was just bad. It was really bad. I feel so bad for these guys, but they didn't even show up. It was just bad. 40-8. Number 16 Notre Dame, and crazy, man. Hartman didn't even play this game. He was on the sideline. He got interviewed. I seen him. But when he was getting interviewed, it was 24-0. And it's funny because this game just ends up being worse. They got a safety during his little interview on the field. I mean, Darren, it was just lopsided. 40-8 final score. Oregon State finishes at 8-5. Notre Dame finishes at 10-3. And just, Steve Peanut Butter and Jelly. I love how they were talking about that on the broadcast, but Steve and Jelly, man, just did his thing. I think that was his first career start. I don't know. But what I do know is 15 for 19, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns. What a job. Price had a very good day. Jadarian Price, very good day on the ground. Young man out of Texas there. 13 carries, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. And Jordan Faison, 5 receptions, 115 yards, 1 touchdown. Darren, Notre Dame just ate these guys for breakfast, man. They ate them like a bowl of Tony the Tiger Frosted Flakes, man. Because, boy, this game was over. It was over fast, too. First quarter, 7-0 Notre Dame. At the half, 14-0 Notre Dame. Okay, cool. Maybe we're going to have a better third quarter. Nope! 24-0 into the third quarter. Darren, the only touchdown Oregon State even got was 6:02 to go in the fourth quarter, but it was surrounded by 2 Notre Dame touchdowns and a safety to start the fourth quarter. Once again, 40-6. Just really bad. Or 40-8, sorry. And Notre Dame just absolutely destroyed these guys in this game.
Yeah, Notre Dame was kind of still the cut above the rest. And I feel bad for Oregon State as well. The good news is that they did get a 4-star recruit in Jordan Anderson, as he's a wide receiver. He's a really talented wide receiver, and he actually flipped his commitment from Oregon to Oregon State. And this was announced earlier in the week. I want to say it was on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, where Jordan Anderson committed to Oregon State after decommitting from Oregon. But for Oregon State, this is going to be a whole rebuilding process of building up your brand and trying to basically build up your reputation. And who knows, maybe they will eventually get into a Power 5 conference. Though I can't imagine them getting into like the Big 10 or I'd maybe say Big 12 probably. But for Notre Dame, they just handled business as usual because, well, they're Notre Dame. And it was another one of those years where we all got hooked onto them. They looked pretty promising, and then they went down.
Yeah, that's nuts, dude. That's crazy. Anderson, wow. That's flipped his commitment. That's pretty awesome. Adam says here, good morning to you, Adam. By the way, big up to our chat room, Jen B, Mike Pat, Adam Karnick. Adam says here, Anderson didn't want to play in the Big Ten. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, eventually we're not going to have any conferences for football. I really feel like that's not going to happen. I mean, that's going to happen. I really do. Chip Kelly, we talked about what he said a couple weeks ago, and I really feel like it's going to happen, man. I really do. I just feel like we're going to become that whole different story. Taryn, good for Anderson. You know what? He wants to go small school, I guess, is what they're going to call Oregon State now. I don't know, but good for him.
Mm-hmm.
So, AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Taryn, wow. Memphis, hey, they finished the season at 10-3. Iowa State just didn't look ready. They played good, but they weren't good enough. 7-6 in the season. Memphis came out, dude. They led 19-0 at the end of the first quarter. Then, of course, not a bad job. Iowa State comes out and plays pretty well, but not good enough. They got on the board, made it a pretty respectable 22-13 at the half. Memphis just comes out and continues to dominate 36. They scored 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, 36-13. Iowa State would try to match it with 1 touchdown towards the end of the third quarter, 36-20. And then, even though there was only 1 touchdown in the fourth quarter, and that was scored by Iowa State, Memphis had already won the game, man. Big ups to these guys. Seth Hennigan Jr. out of Denton, Texas. Just great job there. 24 for 34, 364 yards, 4 touchdowns on the day. My goodness. Watson, man. Blake Watson, senior out of Queens, New York. 15 carries, 107 yards. And Rock Taylor out of Oxford, Alabama. 8 receptions, 102 yards. Taryn, all over the century mark, all playing well. Memphis, in their really cool uniforms, got it done, man. Winning this year's AutoZone Liberty Bowl.
Yeah, and the big thing for Memphis is that they jumped out to that early lead in the first quarter, and they also took away Iowa State's run game. Iowa State had no run game whatsoever, as they didn't even have one rushing yard, as that basically was courtesy of sacks, and it also was courtesy of Memphis just basically limiting the Iowa State running back to only 4 rushing yards. So all in all for Memphis, they just played a much clean game. And even when Iowa State tried to swing the momentum back, Memphis just took the momentum right back toward them, and they just built an even bigger lead to make sure that Iowa State wouldn't get back in it.
And that was just huge, man. Memphis played so well, and hats off to these guys, man. And then, of course, the final game of the night, last night during the iSports Radio induction ceremony with my beautiful wife, Cecilia, on the Sports Club Perspectives. Taryn, the Cotton Bowl. The Cotton Bowl. The Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Wow. Look, it's not that Ohio State wasn't ready. It's just Marvin Harrison Jr. opting out the last second. I totally understand why. I'm going to the draft. I believe that quarterback, too, didn't play, right?
Yeah.
He opted out. I mean, dude, like, it was just Ohio State was just in a tough situation, man. I feel bad for Coach Day. I love what he's done over there. I really do. I think Ohio State, it's pretty cool. I mean, the fun fact of this game is what we heard about 1,000 times last night during the game is this team is the only team to be in the New Year's Six all 10 years of the college football playoff era. And it shows, they're a hell of a team. They make it. They're good. But Taryn, what the crap, man? Ohio State they couldn't get it done. They couldn't do crap. It was 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, which was great. Good for Ohio State. But it was a very, nothing happened. It was weird. Scoreless second quarter, scoreless third quarter. 3-0 at the half, of course. Scoreless third quarter. And then the fourth quarter, finally, Mizzou, they woke up. They got 2 touchdowns there in the fourth quarter. One with 14:55 to go in the fourth. One with 5:12 to go in the fourth. And, dude, that was it, man. Crazy. Brady Cook Jr., they're out of St. Louis, Missouri. 18 for 11, 128 yards, 1 touchdown. Schrader, Cody Schrader, also out of St. Louis, Missouri. 29 carries for 128 yards, 1 touchdown. And, of course, Marquise Johnson, freshman there out of Dickinson, Texas. 1 reception for 50 yards. As you can see, they didn't throw very much. They did, but they didn't. Taryn, just a crazy game. Mizzou got it done. What a victory, man. 14-3. Missouri finishes the season at 11-2, and Ohio State finishes also at 11-2.
And that's Missouri's first bowl game win in 9 years. So that's very impressive that they end the season like that. So this was such a punt fest game for both teams. And finally, when the fourth quarter arrived, Missouri just really turned on the gas. Once they got that touchdown, that really swung the momentum toward them. Ohio State just had no momentum. Obviously, not having their quarterback and not having Marvin Harrison Jr. did not help. But it's all about the players that are currently on the field, and they got to do their job. It's like basically how USC had to do their job when all their star players basically opted out and whatnot. So I thought Missouri did an excellent job of basically controlling possession, and they basically came up when they needed to. And the defense really showed. Even though they only forced 1 turnover, they just were efficient for the most part. And forcing a bunch of punts is just absolutely fantastic. And also, Missouri going 3 for 3 on 4th downs is pretty good. And they held Ohio State to only 2 for 15 on 3rd downs.
That's incredible. Good for Mizzou, man. They played well. And you know what? it's crazy to think, right? But hey, Ohio State did their thing, this year. They played okay. They played good enough to get there. And hey, the bowl game ended up how it is. The bowl games, dude, they're just kind of becoming this meaningless thing. I mean, we just need playoffs. You got guys opting out. It's just, can we stop it? Can we stop it already? Can we just get the freaking... And we're getting a 12-team playoff next year, which is great. But, which I think it came perfect timing. But I don't know. I don't know. This whole opting out thing. I mean, remember we talked last week, I believe, about the Marshall game, about their running back. Their coach made the decision to only play him, give him half carry. He's like, dude, it's either you're in or you're out. I don't know. I mean, the announcers had that one pretty correct there saying that. But Adam Cornick says here in the chat room, should we start thinking of these non-playoff bowl games more like sneak previews for the upcoming season rather than the finale of the current year? And that is a great statement, because it's true, man. All you get are a bunch of backup dudes who, some of them never played. So many guys make their first start and crap, and it's like, okay, we're just these bowl games are just telling you, they're becoming so meaningless. I mean, as Terrence said, the Hallmark movie marathon bowl or whatever you want to call it. I mean, sometimes these games, man, they just I don't know, they don't carry very much weight. It's true. If they're not meaningful games, then these guys aren't trying to play in them, and I understand that. They're getting ready to go to the NFL, all that great stuff. But, I don't know. Terrence says, in other words, or Adam says here, in other words, should teams just start preparing as if their draft-eligible players are going to opt out and not play? And that's a great question, Aaron. What do you think?
I think so, just because, well, I mean, you have to prepare the players for your future players for your future, just because you need to prepare them just in case they're thrown into the fire and they're basically thrown into the situation where they need to basically adjust and they need to come to the light and show themselves what they can do. And I feel that some teams don't really do that a whole lot.
No, it's true.
And then their players need to have this whole sense of urgency of this could be basically for a preview for next year, or basically for a job rehearsal, kind of like how the 4 glory games in terms of the NFL.
No, you're totally right, man. And it just sucks to think wow, this is what we're doing right now. This is it. This is where we've come. Now we're opting out. These are basically future games. I mean, I don't know what to say. Taryn, everyone opts out of the Senior Bowl now. And now we have 15 different freaking All-Star games. We got the Senior Bowl coming up. We got the Shrine Bowl. We got the, I forgot what other bowls there is. There's the one that brings in, the NAIA players and the NCAA, the lower divisions. They bring those guys in. I forgot what that one's called. But, Taryn, there is so many. There's a good amount. There's a good amount of these games that bring in all these guys, and it's kind of crazy because that's kind of their last. It's either the last hoorah that they're getting to play, but they may or may not get drafted, or it's kind of I don't know, Darren. It's weird. It's really, I don't know. I hate it. It sucks because I want more meaningful football, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of guys the Senior Bowl is awesome, but I don't think there's much need for all these other bowl games. For the other All-Star games. What do you feel about that, Darren? I mean, like I said, everyone just opts out anyway.
Yeah, I really think that basically, I actually came across a post on X, and it basically said, would you rather have a 32-team and a college football bracket with no bowl games,
yep,
or a 4-team college playoff bracket with multiple bowl games? And some said some took the bowl games with only the 4-team bracket, and then some took the 32-team bracket. So without bowl games.
Yeah, once again, man, the bowl games are getting meaningless, and like I said, the guys, they realize that. So if the athletes are realizing it and they're just playing in the meaningful games, and you want them to play all the way to the end of the season, then, I mean, hey, the bowl games have been fun, but, you can keep those bowl games, because I will say this, the bowl games, because I would tell my players this too, Taryn, or as a player would recognize this, some of these, respect these sponsors. okay? The Chick-fil-A coming up today in about 15 minutes. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, okay? We have here, what do we got? The Capital One Orange Bowl, all this stuff coming up. Taryn, I'd be telling my players, you need to be thanking these sponsors too. Because guess what? These sponsors are giving, for those of you who aren't going anywhere, this is it for you, they're giving you one more football game. They're paying for one more football game for you. This is it. If you're going to try to make a team, you're going to be an undrafted free agent, you're going to try to go to Canada or do something, go somewhere else in the world and play football, that's amazing. Maybe play semi-pro like I did for a while, enjoy it. But Taryn, when it comes down to it, man, these bowl games are cool for that reason. I like that. They give these guys one more chance to go out there and play the game with their teammates and everything, with their brothers. But Taryn, at the same exact time, it's true. Some of these games, it's like, okay, so the guys who are going, well, it's meaningless. So I don't know, Darren. I like the bigger bracket. I like that. Let's see. I like to have some bowl games in there for these teams, like the lower teams that didn't make the bracket and everything. But yeah, that bracket needs to be played because we clearly see the lower divisions and the NAIA how meaningful these games are, and all the way to the championship. So it needs to continue. So all right, Darren, we're going to wait a little bit over on time today. My apologies, brother, but we have here some bowl games to pick, and this is it, man. This is the end. This is the end of the season for us, really. We got some games to pick today, and for Monday, we'll do quick picks, and then, of course, national championship preparations for both the FCS and the FBS coming on up in just 1 week's time. So, Taryn, coming up today in just about 15 minutes, like I said, number 11 Ole Miss taking on number 10 Penn State. Both teams are 10-2. And the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, the New Year's Six, is here. Penn State is favored by 5.5 points. Who are you taking?
I'm going to take Penn State just to be safe. I think Penn State is efficient. They're not the flashiest team, but they just get the job done.
Agreed. Penn State all day. I think they're going to be the team to win this thing. The Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl, Auburn at 6-6, Maryland at 7-5. Auburn is favored by 4.5 points here, Taryn. Who are you taking?
I'm going to take Maryland for this one.
That's a good pick, man. I think Maryland will also win this thing, man. Go Terps. I think they got the team to do it, and let's see what they get done, man. The Capital One Orange Bowl. Man, no one saw Georgia being in this game this year. But number 6 Georgia at 12-1, taking on the number 5 Florida State Seminoles, the 13-0 team. Their quarterback is down. I think he's still out. Poor guy. Hopefully he gets well. But the team that everyone feels got snubbed. Taryn, they got snubbed, and now they're being destroyed in the point line. They have Georgia winning by 21 points.
Yeah, as much as everyone would like to see Florida State end the season undefeated and give them a faux pas national championship, kind of like what UCF did, we got to go with Georgia. Georgia is going to come in mad. They're going to come out with revenge, and they're going to take their anger and frustration out on poor Florida State.
Yeah, I am. It's a bummer. I wish it was different, but yeah, I wish the quarterback. What's his name again?
Jordan Travis.
Jordan Travis, that's his name. I wish he was there to play, but heal up soon, brother. Get healthy. And yeah, man. So, okay. And then, of course, we have the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl. And that is coming up today. We have 11-2 Toledo taking on 8-4 Wyoming. They got Wyoming favored by 4.5 points. Darren, who are you taking?
I am going to take Wyoming.
Yeah, me too.
I think being at Mountain West kind of prepares them better.
Agreed. I think so, man. I'm going to go with Wyoming and the Cowboys in this game, man. And then, of course, so that's today's games. And then, of course, we got over to Monday. Wisconsin and number 13 LSU in the ReliaQuest Bowl. That does it for 2023. Now we're in 2024. New Year's morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the country, depending on where you are in the country. 7-5 Wisconsin, 9-3 LSU. LSU served by 10 points. What do you think?
LSU, because Jaden Daniels is going to want a little revenge after back when he was at Arizona State. He lost to Wisconsin. Now that he's with LSU, he's going to want to take a little bit of anger and frustration out on those poor Badgers.
Good point. I'm definitely going to take LSU in this game as well, man. The Verbo Fiesta Bowl, number 23, Liberty, who is amazing, man. These guys came out of nowhere this year. I love it. They've done so well. They are taking on number 8, Oregon. They are 11-2. Well, Liberty may be very good this year, but Oregon is still favored by 16.5 points, Darren. Who you taking?
As much as I'd like to see Liberty and the undefeated and maybe give them a Mickey Mouse National Championship trophy, we got to go with Oregon. Oregon basically has all the tools, and Bo Nix, if he hasn't opted out, he's going to basically show everybody that the Ducks should have and probably could have made the national championship or college football playoff.
Yeah, go Ducks in this one for sure. Number 17, Iowa at 10-3, taking on number 21, Tennessee at 8-4 in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Taryn, Tennessee is favored by 6 points.
See, Tennessee is so tempting just because they're starting Nico Iamaiava at quarterback. He hailed from Warren in high school. But Iowa, my fear is that if I pick Iowa, they're going to lay a goose egg.
Yeah.
You know what? Give me Tennessee just to be safe.
I was going to say the same thing. Give me Rocky Top, man. And then, Taryn, that's it. It's over. Bowl season has officially concluded, if you will, kind of. And that's it. We have now reached our last two. And, of course, these are the big ones, the college football playoff bowl games. Taryn, this is it, man. Coming up on New Year's Day, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern. Number 4, Alabama, taking on number 1, Michigan. Alabama, 12-1. Michigan, 13-0. They have Michigan here by 1.5 points favored in the Rose Bowl. Taryn, this is going to be a tough game, man. Who you taking?
See, Michigan hasn't gotten punched in the mouth all season. I mean, they had a couple close calls against Maryland and Ohio State, but that's kind of where the buck stops. That being said, I'm going to take Alabama to win this one.
Taryn, we think so much alike, brother. Yes, I'm not a Michigan hater, but dude, Alabama is a different animal. I get they lost one game, but they're still freaking Alabama. I'm taking Alabama, man. So there you go. And then, of course, coming up later on New Year's Day, number 3 Texas taking on number 2 Washington in the All-State Sugar Bowl, the other college football playoff game. Taryn, Texas is at 12-1. Washington is at 13-0. This is going to be a fun game, man. They have Texas favored by 4 points. Who you taking?
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I feel Washington is playing out of their minds right now. I mean, Michael Penix Jr. is definitely playing like a top-tier quarterback. And Washington has had a couple close calls. They've had multiple close calls. I feel it's going to catch up to them, and I think Texas is going to take the win.
That's a toughie, man. It's a tough game. Give me Washington, man. I'm going to go with Penix. I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm excited for it, but I'm going to go Washington in this game. Let's see what happens. We shall see. And, man, that is going to do it, dude. That is it. So, man, I can't believe we're here. We have reached the conclusion, the end here of course, the show. It's kind of funny. It's supposed to be a shorter show. I think it's ended up being one of our longest shows. My apologies, Taryn. Keeping you all day over there, man. But just some good stuff. Next week, oh, man, it's going to be fun. Let's go ahead and cue that music, man. Next week, we have here number 2, Montana taking on number 1, South Dakota State in the FCS National Championship game. That is next Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking all about that, getting you ready for that one. And by this time next week, Taryn, well, those 4 teams, 2 of them are going to win. And we're going to be talking about the lead up to the National Championship on January 8th. It's going to be fun, man. And boy, it's going to be fun, just like this show, man. Thanks again for being here, brother. I know, like I said, you're on Texas time right now, over there on your vacation over there. I hope you and your family are doing great. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, man. But just, yeah, craziness. Anything else you want to say before we're out of here today about college, high school, whatever you want to mention, man?
I think that is pretty much that. I think we've gotten most of it out of the way, and the U is not back.
And the U is not back. Adam says, give me Michigan. I want to see Saban go down. Well, I'll tell you, man. we definitely have some great games ahead of us, even though the majority of bowl season is behind us. We have crowned all kinds of national champions. High school, 3C2A, NJCAA Division 1 and 3, actually. We have crowned Division 3, Division 2, NAIA, and there's just 2 more to go, Darren. Just 2 more to go, and that is, of course, the FCS National Championship and the FBS National Championship coming on up in just about a week's time. So exciting, so ready to go. I hope you guys are ready, man, because we got some good stuff coming up today. Once again, just mentioned we are moments away from the Peach Bowl. Number 11 Ole Miss taking on number 10 Penn State. Shout out to our sponsor, Plain Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Head over to plainjerky.net. Pick you up a bag or 2 delicious beef jerky. And well, that is it, y'all. From my boy, Terran Rodriguez, and your boy Larry B. That's going to do it for this week. We will see y'all next week. Until then, take care. And as always, God bless.
Peace.